Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Medium's World. I am your host, Bonnie Wirth. And yeah, I'm battling a little bit of a head cold. So, for those of you that know me really well, my voice is a little croaky, but it doesn't stop the passion behind what it is that I'm here in offering through this series. And of course, I'm so grateful to be able to share conversation tonight with someone who enjoys talking as much as I do. So, that's all that's I'm really really thankful. I'm just thankful, mediumship, as I said, is a passion of mine. It's a passion of mine because I have seen and witnessed it change so many people's lives, how a message from the other side, an inspiring direction, some guidance can help to really alter and shift someone's total life. It's like it's a miracle maker, so to speak. I mean, I don't believe in miracles. I believe that we are part of making our miracles. And I love that we have the capacity to connect with the invisible world, with our loved ones on the other side, with angels and guides and all of these beings who just want us to be happy, to be well, and to thrive in our day-to-day life. So I'm passionate about this. And I think what makes me even more impassioned about it is because I truly believe that mediumship is one of the most healing modalities that are out there. It often gets a bad rap. There's a lot of fear-based consciousness that comes along with it. And I feel it is a sacred mission of mine to be a voice in the world, to help to begin to change people's minds, open people's hearts, and allow them to receive the beautiful healing that is available through these connections between the physical and non-physical world. So, oh my gosh. So, but before we begin, and I could go on and on and on, remember, I don't want to be doing all the talking here tonight. But before we do, I just want to take a moment and just move into some prayer, into a deep meditative moment, just to bring all of us together, to bring this into sacred connection across all of the miles around the globe. But there's so people tuning in from everywhere, and oh my gosh, that just makes my heart so happy. All right. I will just invite you now just to take a moment and just to close your eyes, just for you to drop into your heart space, just for you to find into this moment, find yourself into presence with where we are on this day, on this particular beautiful day. The timing in the cosmos is so profound for us as we gather in unity, in connection, in purpose. And there is, so much chaos and so much upheaval in the outside world that as we just take an opportunity just to direct our attention inward, we begin to feel more calm, more ease, more settled, more connected. And so just give yourself the opportunity just to breathe deeply into this moment and to allow your body to find a natural rhythm with your breath, the breath of life, this life force energy. And as you begin to find this natural rhythm with your breath, as the body begins to slowly relax and ease and settle, taking you deeper and deeper within, you begin to recognize and understand that you are but being breathed. So we allow for space for opening, for whatever has been weighing on our hearts or has been creating limitation or holding us back in any way from really being the light onto the world. Whatever has been constricting or limiting the joy, the abundance, the well being, we're just invoking and calling in upon all of these powers that be, all of our loved ones, all of our angels and guides, beings who love us so unconditionally that want nothing more than for us to be and experience and thrive within our lives. And so we just allow for anything that's been blocking, stopping, just holding the intention that it gets completely cleared out now, just completely released, alleviating what is the weight of the world on our shoulders, our worries and concerns. And in its place, this deep, impeding trust, a trust that helps us to know without a shadow of a doubt that we are being cared for, that all is well and will be well. that we are so loved, so supported, and so rejoiced. This deep impeding trust that says, even if we can't understand our current reality, even if we're uncertain as to what this world all means for us, we hold on to the steadfast faith that we have everything within us in which to be the change that we want to see in the world. We have our souls already said yes to taking on everything that this is. And that it is through our love and through our connection and through our willingness to show up, to let go and let God, to let go and let there be light, that we are making the most holiest of contributions. And so not only do I ask for, of course, this blessing for this conversation here tonight, but also the continuation of blessing for all of our lives, for everyone who's a part of this event and anyone else around the globe who is looking to be held, who is looking to be healed, who is looking to receive the blessing of unconditional love. That within the hope, with this intention that we make it available to everyone and anyone. And the knowing and the understanding that we truly are all one. You and me and we. Beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. Amen, amen, amen. Oh, beautiful. Taking a deep breath in, I invite you to come back into our circle where we now have this beautiful opportunity to talk to one of my favorite people in the world, Kilkenny Tremblay, who is not only a coach and a meditation professor and a medium, but oh my gosh, this woman has a podcast called The Modern Mystic, which is in the top 2% for her contribution in terms of this beautiful work that she does as a medium, an astrologer, and a psychic, and really helping to make an impact in opening hearts and opening minds. Every time we get together, we have some amazing conversations. And so Kilkenny is, I mean, she has been doing this work. She's been working within mentoring, within spirituality, helping people with psychic development and understanding of their sacred self for over the past 20 years. She's been doing this work longer than I have. And so she comes in really helping people to integrate their spirituality, for them to live a life from a place that has more meaning, more magic. And of course, she's on a mission to really help really make it possible for people to actualize their spiritual self. So Kilkenny, oh my goodness, thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you tonight.
Oh, Bonnie, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I love this event so much.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So Kilkenny, I have been, of course, had the pleasure of being your guest on your podcast a couple of times already. And I listened to your podcast. You have just, I mean, incredible guests that come on there who are all a part of really this passion and purpose that, we share. And so one of the questions you always ask at the start of your podcast, which is the modern mystic, is you always ask every single guest what being a modern mystic means to them. And I'd like to turn that around on you tonight. And I'd like to ask you what being a medium means to you.
I love this so much, to have the tables turn. And hello, everyone. And such an honor to be here. And to me, being a medium, the word medium, because I'm a word fanatic, etymologically comes from the root medius in Latin, which literally means to be in the middle or to be a bridge. And that's really how I think about it. It's so much about bridging the unseen realms with the seen realms, the individual with universal, dark, light, all those complementary opposites, so to speak, and being that bridge, that center. And to me, what do bridges do? They bring people, lands together and create more peace. So to me, mediumship is so much about being just that, being a bridge, and in doing so, making those connections to forge and offer as a servant more peace.
Oh my gosh. Can we just have like a mic drop moment? Total mic drop. Thank you. Because, it really is the bridge. It is the center. We are, but I always say, as I share with people, is that we're just the one that's being used to bring in and bridge from the intangible into the tangible, to be the connecting point, to be the conduit, to be the messenger. And I just love how you put it, because again, the bridging of land, which is, again, we're a part of the peacekeepers in the world and the peacemakers in the world. And I believe that mediumship is and every single medium, that we are the compassionate healers of the world. And I love how you brought that together. That's so awesome. So of course, Kilkenny, I would love people to get to know you a little bit more. What fascinates me the most about you, and I think we've talked about this before as well, is the very fact that we have had two complete opposite conditionings in terms of mediumship, of spirituality, of these unseen worlds and realms, where I was someone who was raised in organized religion, where this wasn't vastly accepted, that coming out and talking about mediumship, there's very fear-based consciousness. I've had to come up against a lot of challenges and a lot of different obstacles in my journey and career. But for you, you were raised in this. This is a part of your foundation, and this is what you've been living and breathing your whole entire life.
Well, I honor you so much because you are a warrioress, and I honor everyone out there who has had to face so many hurdles from childhood and from the perspective of society. For sure, I had such a blessing of being introduced to the yoga world, to philosophy, to spirituality, all the things mindfulness from a young age as a child at 5. However, mediumship is another level out there, and that for sure is true. So when we're talking about these lands and these worlds of spirituality, I feel like still mediumship is very much on the fringe nonetheless.
Yeah, right, exactly. And this is again where I feel such an important part of my mission is to make it as, mainstream and recognized in terms of what we understand yoga to be, and what we're beginning to see some of the other healing modalities like Reiki and IET that are out there, or, even looking, tapping even used to be looked at as something so, on the fringe, and now is so vastly accepted within even within psychology and things, and different in support of people's mental and emotional health. And so yeah, for me, this is where I just feel like people need to know that there is nothing to fear, that this is very real, and again, helping and supporting individuals to really come into a full sense of worthiness and acceptance of self, but more importantly, making this readily and available in support of the healing of our planet. And so I love that, we've had the chance, of course, to talk, to work together. But I'm really curious, I'd love for you to share with people, when did you realize in everything that was your foundation that you were actually a psychic medium? When did that start coming up for you?
Well, it's really taken such a long time because I came from a background of meditation and meditators. And so that muscle of meditation is definitely what ultimately led to my mediumship sharing and abilities. Understanding that certain information that was being downloaded to me was indeed mediumship definitely has only been in the last, I'd say, 10 years of my life. So it really took me a long time to understand. And maybe people who are listening, who are empaths, who are highly sensitive people, my Modern Mystic podcast, I have a whole episode about that, because
Yeah.
what really happened to me is, from a very young age, I was those things, extreme empath, highly sensitive. People were always coming to me for advice from a young age, for support emotionally, psychologically, and it came very naturally to me. There's certainly conditioning about that, which I think is the case with many empaths and such. However, with that training, it gave me these skills. And to me now, I recognize them as claircognizance, which is
Yes.
one of the arms of the
Yes.
psychic abilities. But it didn't occur to me it was that, it's just I knew what to say. All of a sudden, I just, as a young child, people would be in crisis. People would be coming to me with different breakdowns. In college, I had old people coming, through my dorm all the time, and I didn't call it that. So much, I think, sometimes with the psychic abilities and connection to our intuition, it's a matter of semantics, because to me, really, everyone has psychic abilities, and it's really niching down on, okay, what are your unique skill sets in life? I have a client that I'm working with right now, and they are very musical, and so he is someone that we're working on clairaudience a lot with, meaning working on the ability to hear things, and he already has a skill set, and so how can we tease that out? And he's had amazing experiences with practice. So it really took me a long time to articulate and even to believe myself that these indeed were psychic abilities, so to speak. Where that line is, I think, is so gray. And being that really everyone has them, it's really so much for me about the coming to realization of, oh, like you said, these things are actually normal. These things are actually the capacity of any human being. And then let me recognize them, let me develop them, and then let me call them for what they are.
Right. Oh my gosh, so great. And I love that you bring up the claircognizance. Now, claircognizance, for those of you who are tuning in and beginning to understand what this is all about, is a clear knowing. It's just, as Kilkenny said, you just know and you're not sure why you know, but there is just spontaneous answers that seem to happen to questions or solutions to problems. And I'm very claircognizant as well, and so I know that was a real challenge in my marriage because my husband was like, you always seem to know everything. And I'd be like, well, I do. I can't help that I know everything. Like, it's not, and that's not from an ego place. It's just that whenever there was something that needed a solution or we had a problem, I always just seemed to know exactly what to do. It was just that knowing. And this is natural. You bring up something very important too, that when people are in the presence of a medium, they will just naturally begin to share their deeper truths, tell us things that they've never told anyone ever before. They start to divulge their whole life story, and they're like perfect strangers coming up, and they're
My
just
kids are always
right.
like, how do you know everything about everyone? And why does everyone tell you everything all the time? And it's true, there's all the clairs, clairvoyance, which is being able to see. And I feel like that's the traditional one. And that's something to
Right.
point out even with my story. And I think a lot of people I work with, that clairvoyance is the one I think we see the most in movies,
Yes.
like the Witch of the West with the ball and the Wizard of Oz or whatever, right? The seeing, and we think, oh, well, I'm not psychic because I don't have visions. I don't see people, dead people walking around my
Right.
house, things like that. And that's part of why it took me a long time to even realize my own capabilities, because that was not, clairvoyance wasn't how I got information primarily. There's clairvoyance, there's clairaudience, which is the hearing, hearing
Yes.
things, ringing in the ears, hearing your own voice, etc. There's the clairsentience, which is sensing things. Like you just, oh my God, is there going to be a storm? You know how like animals can sense the rain, right? So it's that
Yes.
sensing. I just feel like I should go
and it
right.
and it's a and it's a reaction in the physical body, like it's the goosebumps, and it's the people call them the holy showers that take place in the moment, or when even physical pain, even as an empath, to understand that empaths will naturally absorb those energies and suffer with a lot of symptoms that aren't necessarily theirs. And as mediums, when we think of all the different scopes of what it means to be an empath, that we kind of have it all going on. So a lot of things that we go through, conditions, are, when we look at being a highly sensitive person, the symptoms we take on. And I mean, you mentioned that you always knew that you were just had this empathic ability, that you were so, in absorption all the time. So how have you dealt with that?
It's a great question. It's still ever evolving because
Right.
as I'm
I know I
seeing
get asked it all the
that
time.
I feel like it's almost a full-time job, like
Yeah.
like management of all of this. It's such a buzzword, and I hate to be hackneyed and cliched, but it's just so helpful. Boundaries, right? I mean, everyone, I feel like so many people are talking about it all the time, but really, it's so important with time, with energy, with whatever it is, your own conversation with people. So really learning how to really make healthy boundaries. And
Mhm.
that even comes with, and you were such an incredible eye opener for me with this, even in the
Thanks.
spirit world. Like
Yeah.
that was the huge thing I learned from you about really understanding, like, you need to set up boundaries with your spirit team, even the ones that are so amazing and
Even
give
the
you
ones that you love.
like,
Exactly.
sometimes I just don't want to dream, please. I just want to like go into that rest, So just that idea of really also getting clear, like, because sometimes when we're empaths and highly sensitive people, and there's definitely a distinction between
Yes,
those two, and a lot of empaths are both, just for the record.
exactly.
Highly sensitive people, just for the people listening who this might be new to, highly sensitive people, HSPs, their senses are heightened. So you might like, hate to hear loud trains and you can't stand it, or nail scratching at a chalkboard. But it's your senses that don't like the intensity. Yet you won't cry at a tissue commercial. You won't
Right.
feel what other people are feeling when they're suffering. You will have like a healthy boundary between them and yourself. And so if you do, you might just be a highly sensitive person. And some people feel what other people feel, they're empaths. And a lot of empaths are actually both. And that's
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah, there's
me.
definitely a crossover. And again, when we look at it in terms of, I love that you said it's an ever evolving thing, because I love, the chance to ask you that question, because it is something that I get asked all the time in terms of, being a spiritual empath, what that all entails. How do I manage it? How do I work with it? And the only, the thing is, again, the practices and things that come in, we have to find what works for us as individuals to know what we're gonna benefit from, and what perhaps isn't necessarily a direction for us to go. But what I've, in all these years, what I've become kind of aware of as I've progressed on my journey is that this becomes more about an expression of energy as opposed to an absorption. So if we can look at ways of increasing our vibration, creating more spaciousness and content for light to be in our presence and in our field, that we are not in absorption any longer, that when we are in a constricted or confined energy or frequency, we get into absorption, and then it can be really challenging and difficult. But we can learn how to express that instead, express or be the light, or let there be light, whatever connotation you want to put on it, that it actually allows us to sustain a frequency where we're no longer in absorption. But that happens over time, and it's an incremental, and it's about finding, sometimes one thing will work and another day something, it's not going to work the same. And I'm sure you found that as well.
Totally. I mean, my three main touchstones that have been tried and true my whole life, there's certain ones, like you said, and
Yes.
I love what you said, like about RXing it. Like you have to come up with your own curated version at any moment or epoch of your life, so to speak, that works. For sure, the three main ones, though, that have always been the case for me is one, meditation.
Yes.
Doesn't matter how
Me
long, I would
too.
say
Me too. Me too.
1 to 3 minutes, right? Because it
Yes.
really puts you, just like you said, in that pure positive energy space while taking out the trash. It is the biggest Groupon, it is the biggest sale. I love those things. Do the meditation, and it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be long, and it just instantly releases and then up levels. So to me, meditation's one, nature's two, because
Mm.
nature is at such a high vibration. So getting out in nature, sitting in nature, walking in nature. And three is moving my body. Now I have an Aries
Yeah.
moon.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
but that's how, like, to me, like, I might, run 3 miles and then I can do 4 psychic readings in a day. But like to me,
Right.
such like you said, it's just about like moving energy so you can hold the energy
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah.
expand.
And it's so interesting, because I know, even, and exactly, and I would say all three of those things are in my top three as well. And then, I've also, and I shared this the other night on our, in a part of our conversation, it's also about looking as mediums, because we are so highly sensitive. We are constantly have an influx of energy coming at us all the time. All the time. So there's the collective energy that's around us, other people's, the environment, the world, the cosmos, the earth, everything's coming at us all the time. And now we've got the spirit world coming at us. And so it's a constant influx. And one of the PowerPoints for me on this is I've had to learn to recognize, one, be on the basis that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and that everything is energy. that I've had to recognize everything as energy, recognizing the energy of depression, recognizing the energy of heaviness, recognizing the energy of joy, even when or of anxiety, whatever you want to put on it. I began recognizing it. And, maybe it's all my air. Maybe it's, my moon is in Aquarius. So, I mean, there's another air sign that kind of takes care of things, but it's also, of what shifted and allows it to bypass. I found that I'm not in absorption when I'm recognizing the energy of things.
Well,
I
that's the
don't,
mindfulness, and that's so
yeah,
beautiful. And that's the thing that's so important in this world of mediumship, in the world of spirituality, psychology, of course, is not doing the bypassing. And
right.
it's such a shadow of the mediumship world. Like, oh, like only light, oh, only
I
raise the
know.
vibration. And a lot of times I think about the idea of living open wide. So it's not just
Yes.
like elevating, because that's that vertical patriarchal structure, right? But we need the up, and then we need the wide, which I think of as
Yes.
more like feminine, not in the way of gender, but in the way of just energies and
Hmm.
expressions of energies within everyone. And so to me, so much is about, okay, can I open wider? Can I
Yes.
open my consciousness? Can I open what I'm picking up wider? And in that big hug, you're able to just hold more information. So thinking
Hmm.
about it sometimes in that way too is
Yeah,
interesting.
I think that's so great. It's like, we hear it all the time, as above, so below, as within, so without. And so this is a part of what this is. It's like the divine masculine, divine feminine of how we create balance for ourselves and all of that. So I love how you shared that. I want to go back here in terms of, one, we could have a whole other conversation, Kilkenny, about, the fact of the bypassing that is done in this world and in this work, because it's such an important piece of importance. That's a really important conversation. But I want to move to now in terms of, what was your first encounter with the spirit world? Like, when is there something, do you have a story or an experience or a phenomena of something that occurred for you that really said, okay, this really is very real. This really kind of solidified things for you.
For sure. I mean, since I was so young, I really had an experience of God, goddess consciousness, what a more universal energy, so to speak. And I really think part of my journey has gone from the finite to the infinite, so to speak. Meaning, when
Yes.
I was young, I was very connected to the infinite. And then slowly over time, I've learned more and more about the finite. So in terms
Yes.
of mediumship, to answer your question, I think perhaps you're asking me like a finite experience. And
Yes.
there was a period of time where like I started to really have meditations where I was seeing very specific archetypes. Like, you know, if you had talked to me when I was 5, 10, 20 years old and we're talking about unicorns, I would have looked at you like you were nuts. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I wouldn't have taken that seriously. That wasn't intellectual enough for me. That wasn't serious enough spiritually for me. And then over time during my meditations, I started having these experiences and impressions of things that were like unicorns and more fantastical, so to speak. And I was like, huh, you know. And then I started hanging out in a New Jersey in this town where there are lots of purportedly ghosts and energies of people who have passed. And it's kind of famous. It's Cape May, New Jersey for that. And different times I would be sensing things and I would be like, that's really interesting. I'm sensing like a lot of pressure on my right shoulder, or I'm sensing, did I just hear like a vague thing, that kind of thing. And
Yes.
so over time, I started noticing, again, from the infinite to the finite, and I started paying attention to them more and more. Like I was like, am I hearing things every time I go to the beach? Oh, wait, I am. So I think it's about like, we question it or we think, did I pick up on that? And it's easy to go, anyway. But if
Right.
you are listening and watching, then move towards those things. Get curious about those subtler things is my
Yes.
advice. I started doing this meditation one day and it was an ancestral meditation. And I had prayed to ancestors and done some, different um, practices over many years about this. I'm Irish, I'm a priestess, so this is not new to me.
Yes.
But it was a specific meditation about connecting to one ancestor. And so I, set an intention, did a prayer. It was guided, on Insight Timer, I think it was. And it was around Samhain, which is a cross code or holiday, it's called in the Celtic tradition, which is, basically what Halloween is based upon in modern times. So I was doing this prayer during this period of time in the seam of time, which is about ancestors. And I prayed and I opened up and I said, okay, please, I'd love to connect to one of you and whoever wants to appear. And all of a sudden in my meditation, I saw this face. Now, again, I did not start off as being someone who saw visuals. And so what I want to say and offer to people listening and
Yes.
watching, if you are someone who doesn't see visuals, I spent like 30 years meditating and hardly ever saw anything, but I meditated all the time because I
Yeah.
wasn't trying to see things. I was trying to, evolve my consciousnness and hopefully burn off a bunch of karma. And
Hopefully, I love how you say that. Hopefully, burn it off.
so I all of a sudden when I see things, it's very vague. It's almost like daydreaming, and that's what I want to share with people. My
Yes.
other clairs were more turned on, but the visual was like, I mean, it's so vague. It's like when someone sits there and you start to daydream, that's how vague it is. So when I say I see something, I don't see them like I'm seeing Bonnie, like some people. It's this vague face, but I know now to think of it like a daydream and go with it. So I
Mhm.
go with that and I look at what she's wearing, and she shows me some daughters, and she shows me her shoes and that her back is hurting, and some different things. Cut to the chase, I end up checking in with someone who might have known who I think this ancestor could be. And I say to them, and this person does not believe in anything, is an
Yeah, yeah.
atheist, is like non-believer in anything. And I say, hey, do you know someone in your family? And I describe her to a T, who had a bun like this, who had, my worn shoes like this, who had 4 daughters, the whole story of everything she showed. And the person was like, oh yeah, that's your great grandmother. How did you do you know? Do you see it? Did you see a picture? And this was amazing to me. And the details
Wow.
that she shared about daughters and things like that, like I definitely had never heard some very specific things about lightning. One of them was afraid of weather, and she showed me that. And so that was the moment that I was really like, oh
Amazing.
wow, this is very specific. This is very finite. We're
Yeah.
not talking about like, oh, universal, you kind of like, Woodstock, one love, one life energy, which I'm all about. But this was
Yeah.
very, very specific. And so that became my true pivotal moment of really connecting, particularly with people who have passed, really realizing
Amazing.
that ability was present.
Oh my gosh, so amazing. And I know that, of course, when I said, earlier, like you've been working in the industry for 20 years, over 20 years already, in the work in the field and of everything that you're doing. But when you came into this mediumship piece, you started offering, readings in this way, which people who had known you, who had worked with you, who had engaged in community, didn't necessarily know this part of you. So what was that like for you? What was how did you overcome that challenge that many mediums have in terms of really stepping forward in their in this and in their truth?
It's such a process as well because I feel like I'm still going through it. Feel like there are just times still where I'm like, am I really doing this work? Is this really happening? Like even after a
That
reading,
too.
like so
Seriously,
deep
I'm
into
like,
the
did that just happen?
it's not really right. It's just it's so incredible. And it is so off the beaten path, so to speak. And so it's something that for sure I really grappled with. I teach a adjunct class and I'm a professor. I am very intellectual, which is why I love you, because you're so intellectual and you love to talk about things and you're so smart and it's so fun. So the whole mediumship piece to me felt at times maybe antithetical to like my career and what I wanted to be offering in this life in this world. So for a
Yeah.
long time I just sort of did it word of mouth on the down low, or just would like act like to friends, oh, this just kind of came to me, or I'd say it was a dream even though it wasn't a dream. It took a long time, it was evolving. And then when I started working with some different clients, they would pick up on it. So I was teaching meditation, I was teaching mindfulness to them, and they would be like, I feel like you're psychic. Like, is there any way you could talk to someone I know who's dying? Or do you happen to know?
Wow.
So people just started to ask me, and I felt like I couldn't deny that because answers would come, and I just know that they're not coming from me, they're coming from source. And
Right.
so I started doing it more and more. And then, word spread. And even still, I resisted coming out, so to speak, publicly about it in terms of advertising and things like this, until one day I did a reading, and it was for a mother who lost a child. And I hadn't experienced that before. And
Mhm.
once I had that reading and offered that reading and shared information, and to see how it totally changed her life,
Yes.
that was the moment
Oh,
that I really was like, I have to get out of my selfish way. I have to get over my ego, because
mhm.
this is so healing. This is so life changing for someone. And because for whatever reason, knock on wood, for now, I'm able to do this in this moment in space and time. This is a service, and
Yeah.
you just got to do it. And so
Oh
that
my
was
gosh.
when,
I
when,
just I feel like very emotional just listening to that story because I know I've witnessed that many times, the impact that that has in people's lives, and just those defining moments that just kind of go, you know what? And I love how you said it. It was like the selfishness of not doing this in some way. Like it's just like when you start to witness and experience firsthand the healing that transpires in those moments, it's irrefutable that life after death is possible, and it also is this place of just begins to say there is something to this. I need to help. I feel like I can help more people in this way. More people need to know this is available, right? So it's those defining moments. I remember, and sometimes it's the simplest things in those connections as well that can really make them have the most impact. And I remember doing a reading just as you were talking about yours, and I recall doing a reading for a mother who had come to see me because she had seen a few other mediums prior to coming to me. But when she came, she said to me very clearly, she said, I've seen other mediums. I would like to connect with my son. She goes, I want to know what he experienced when he died.
mm,
And so I was like, okay. So I went into the connection and I would, start to bring in, the information to validate that I was indeed in connection with him. And I had said to her that, it looks like he had a drug overdose. And she said, I don't want to know about how he died. I know how he died. I need to know what happened when he died. And
mm,
I went, oh, okay. So in that moment, it was this, I asked him, I said, please show me what happened. Help me to help your mom to know her peace. And he basically showed me that it's like there was a state of like nothing. He's like, he went completely to sleep. Everything went dark for me. And then there was light. And I just shared, I said, he's just showing me that he basically just went to sleep and woke up on the other side. And that her just to know that, because she needed to know he didn't suffer, he wasn't lost on the other side, he wasn't going through any
yeah,
hardships or challenges in terms of his soul. She needed to know what happened. And I was
yeah,
like, oh my God. And that completely, I mean, it was life changing for her, life changing. It
yeah.
brought so much peace, and it's times like that that it just re-solidifies that this is such meaningful, such purposeful, and such important work.
Totally. That's
Yeah.
such a beautiful, profound sharing. And it's a really interesting thing to think about, because I think that perhaps because of the power dynamic that can come up, just like if you're a psychologist, just like if you're a doctor, if you're a teacher, right? There is a power dynamic that can come up. And I think a lot of mediums, because now I coach and I support people in their
Yes.
development of psychic abilities and intuitions, come across that juncture where they feel like if they step into it or share or even move towards the passion of developing, because it feels so exciting to them, and they
Right.
just for some unknown reason want to develop these gifts, they think then it's egotistical. They think it's, oh, like I'm trying to somehow have more power than other people. And so I think
Right.
so often it really is a mind shift to really be like, who am I to not? There's that Marianne Williamson quote that
Yes.
Nelson Mandela said, and I'm thinking of it right now, right? Who are you
Yes.
to shine? Who are you not to be gorgeous, talented, beautiful, and smart. In allowing yourself to do so, you give other people permission to do the same, and I
Yes.
feel like that's kind of the crux of what we're talking about.
Oh, absolutely, because it is. And every time, we gather in community, every time that we say yes to doing a reading, every time we are supporting that, it's creating the permission. Like I always look at the mediums who have come before us, some of the legends that came before. And I just like thank them profusely for the path that they opened up for us, for what they, oops, hang on there, my internet froze, oh no. I'll come back to what I said, for the pathway that they opened up for us, for what they made possible for mediums in this day and age, and to know that we too are doing that for those mediums yet to come, that every time we're saying yes, every time we're following through, that it is the permission, it's the opening. And again, I always say, if that's like my biggest dream of a legacy, is knowing that I created an opening where this becomes the most normal thing in the world. Like it's no longer feared in any way, right? And so
It's
I
so
yeah, I
it's
love
so
I love
true.
how you said that. And I think, too, thank you again for bringing up the whole clairvoyance piece, because it's to know that, I mean, I don't it's not saying that I haven't seen with my physical eyes. Absolutely I have, but that's not a common thing for me. I have a brain on trauma, and so there are some deficits in terms of my PTSD, that my clairvoyance doesn't work the way other people's clairvoyance works. However, it is imagination. It is a vision that will take place in my mind. And what I found, that for me in particular, when it comes to clairvoyance, that I need to be in the experience of the energy first. And whatever I can allow, if I can just receive, the humming or buzzing in my ear, if I can just allow for the anxiety to be present in my belly, if I can just allow for the waft of energy, and if I can just breathe and settle and just allow for whatever the experience is that's taking place, my coming in through the other soul senses, it will automatically either one register. It first always registers as a claircognizant, and once it's claircognizant, then I can have the vision, or I'll have a vision and then I have the claircognizance. But I've got to be in the willingness to be in the experience of whatever it is that I'm experiencing in that moment. And you mentioned that it's just like leaning into whatever that is in order to receive. And that's really what we do as mediums. We are receiving energy. We are in a state of allowing for this information, this energy to move through us in order to heighten our awareness to what's being relayed or what's being asked. So I love that you brought that up. Um, what I want to ask you, Kilkenny, because again, it goes by so fast, and we're coming up to the tail end of our. I can't believe it already. It happens all the time with us. But I want to, we have a lot of individuals that are tuning in, that are mediums who are currently practicing. They are new mediums who feel a call to learn more, to develop, and maybe are a little bit hesitant in terms of revealing their gifts or moving forward in terms of this experience of life. A lot of people, like, and I mean, I was one of them, was afraid that I was going to open up a can of worms, or it was going to, something was going to happen now that I would never be able to stop, which of course is what happened. But I just want to know what advice you would like to have, that you could offer to anyone considering, or anyone that's even currently practicing.
Well, I think two things. One point is, I would say to those people, because I've been there, your pace is perfect. Like your pace is perfect. Like you don't have to be someone who goes from, not sharing that you have these abilities to, putting up posts on social media. You don't have to be doing, one little sharing with your friends in a sleepover, in a girls' weekend one time, and then a year later, you can do another. You don't have to be doing 10,000 readings then every week, right? Your
Right.
pace is perfect. So trusting that this is spiritual energy that is unfolding. In the yoga tradition, they call it Kundalini Shakti, and you
Yes.
have an awakening, right? So you've had an awakening. And so the spiritual energy and these capacities have been awakened. And so you can let go to a certain extent and just trust in the process of your own timing and what feels right to you. And maybe like you want to dip your toe in the water and it's a little cold and you let it sit there and let it be cold a little bit, but you don't have to rush.
Mm.
Trusting your pace, because that's part of trusting your own intuition. And
Yeah.
the other thing I think that's so valuable to perhaps try on is, again, thinking about your unique skill set. I'm an astrologer, so I can look at someone's chart and tell you right away, like, oh, this would be a good way to develop your psychic medium abilities because your, psychic energy, which is Pluto, is in the fifth house, which is creative
Great
projects and
prices, yes.
whatever. So you can think about, again, are you more auditory? Are you more mental and intellectual? Are you a cook and do you like to taste and eat things, right? And that's a Claire in itself, Claire Gustance. So thinking about those things and then practicing them and then making them a game, making it fun, because we can, get our mediumship, pants too tight around our. And I feel like it's something that the more we can play, like if you're very visual, my sister's a brilliant artist, you can stare at the backyard, sit there on a bench or on a chair, and then close your eyes and make it a game and think,
Right.
okay, when my eyes are closed, can I picture my backyard and what are all the details, right?
Yes.
Or same thing with a song you just heard, new artist that you love that dropped a song. Oh, how much of it can I hear? So just practicing the muscle and
Mhm.
making yourself different games in
Yeah.
relationship to your psychic development abilities, and then you can make it playful. And I think the more joy you can bring to it, the more play you can bring to it, that's when you go from the 5 miles an hour lane to the 120 miles an hour lane. Not that you
Right.
want to be driving 120 miles, but
Well, it could be fun for a moment. Oh my gosh, I love that. Your pace is perfect. I think that is so great. And, this, even in adding to that, it's to recognize that not every medium is meant to do readings for other people. This isn't about us having the sensitivity to the non physical world, and that if we're not using it in some way to be of service to other people by doing readings, I mean, that's such a common thing, what people immediately think. Or a lot of people, even as mediums, say, well, I don't want to take a development program because I don't want to do readings for people. It's not about the readings. It's about you being able to have a relationship with you and your source, you and the divine, you and your loved ones on the other side. And what you choose to, your free will in how you choose to express it is entirely up to you as an individual. And you said something right at the beginning of our interview that just now it's kind of coming back, and I'm just reflecting on. You had said that, it is just in being able to share. You don't have to tell people the source of where you're getting your information. Tell them it came in a dream. Tell them you were thinking about their loved one the other day and you're just, thinking that this might be something that they would, be doing and want to be doing or want them to. Like, you don't have to tell the source of it. It can be your own idea. Just relay the message, just share it. So it's not just about working professionally in this way. It's about you claiming who you are, sovereignty of the soul, of just claiming and being who you are in the world.
oh, I just got truth bumps when you said that, sovereignty of the soul. It's so true, because when our intuition is totally on, 100% Wi-Fi, we're all obsessed with, oh, is my battery charged? Is my Wi-Fi, right? This is your Wi-Fi. So,
Yeah, I love that.
if you never want to share it ever with anyone, it doesn't matter,
Mhm.
because if you are developing your God-given, universe-given, source-given, void-given, whatever languaging and semantics you use, gifts, your human gifts, your human GPS on the inside of the internal world, then you are going to live a more meaningful life, a more authentic life, a more mindful life, a more magical life, and
Yes.
everyone will benefit from that. So it's like, if you develop these aspects of yourself, you're just living the highest, the widest, the deepest expression of yourself. And then that, like wildfire, just makes the lives of everyone around you more magical, more
Yes.
meaningful, more mindful. and
Yeah.
it just spreads. So just
Exactly. And, oh my gosh. And that's what it's all about when we look at that vibration of joy, that frequency, that what the impact it can have in the lives of others. And all you need to do is be present in your own life for that to happen, right? It's
yes.
beautiful. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Okay. So Kilkenny, the other question I want to make sure to ask is that there are also a lot of individuals who are a part of this series who have recently lost or are still dealing with loss of a loved one, and they're going through their grief cycle. And what advice would you have for those who are grieving in terms of that journey?
Yeah. Well, not to be redundant, and your pace is perfect. That's the
Mm,
mantra. Like your grieving pace is perfect, because that's something that is such a sacred and can feel so excruciating and so joyful. And there's such a gamut of feelings one can have, so tender, so poignant. So whatever pace that's happening, try not to judge yourself. Have
mm,
such compassion, because to mourn is just the absolute most profound, really, receipt you can have for those relationships and people who you love in your life. And it teaches you so much. So that's one thing. The other
mm,
thing is just, the truth is that as much as you're suffering, if you're suffering, which is such a human natural part of this process, is that they're there to help you through it. So often I get people in a reading, and like I just had a reading today, and it was someone who lost their partner, and they wanted to know if their husband, he was okay. Like, there were all these signs and all these messages, and she knew it was him, and she was crying and laughing, and at the end she's like, is he okay? And it's so amazing, and sweet, and such a profound thing to ask, because in a way, he had proven it. Like, he had, of course he's
right,
okay. He's saying all these things, right? But she just wanted to know he was okay. In the end, they want to know you're okay, and they're actually there now, because they're more than okay. They're more okay
right,
than we are, in a certain kind of sense.
right,
They're not
exactly.
conflicted, right? So
Yes.
lean on them to help you through the mourning of them and that process. Lean
Mm,
on them if you're in the chrysalis, sticky, mucky, painful, dark phase. Call on them to help you, because
mm.
they're there. They have the energy, and they want to help you through that phase. So that's the other thing I would offer.
Oh my gosh, so
Have time.
beautiful. And here, again, I like that's like just such a beautiful model. Like your pace is perfect. And I think that is such a beautiful way, because sometimes people believe in some way, or there's an expectation that they should be over it, that they need to be moving forward. And just to know that, the pace is perfect. And that, as we honor the mourning process, as we honor the mourning, we are honoring the love that was shared, and only we can define the enormity of what that was. Only we can, because we were the one in experience of it. So, oh my gosh, so profound. Kilkenny, amazing. I want to just turn it over to our group chat here. If anybody has any questions, please, 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 oh my gosh, ask your questions. Reading through, everybody saying hello, hello, love you guys too. Oh my gosh, so love. Yeah, people are like so honored that you get to be that they're listening to you here tonight, Kilkenny. I love that. Love your podcast. Oh, I know, right? Oh yeah, see, Shauna's even saying, oh, the mediumship pants. She really loves. Yeah, right. Got to put on the mediumship pants. I've always referred to it as a hat. I've never done my hat is too tight, but I've never ever done the pants before. That's awesome. So great, so great. So yeah, so just looking forward to your questions here, you guys. If there's anything, well, we have Kilkenny present with us. Would love to have your comments, anything coming in. I want to make sure. Oh, there we go. Awesome. So Val would like to know, Kilkenny, can you please tell me about your name? Where does it come from?
Oh, thank you
I
so much.
love that question.
My name is actually my mother's maiden name, so it's a family name. It's a town in Ireland where our family was originally from. It's a city in Ireland, a town in Ireland, a beer apparently in Ireland, um, that I've had, and so yeah, so it's a family name that I'm so grateful that my mother blessed me with, because it's definitely a big part of my path, even as a teacher and a sharer of my Celtic tradition. So thank you for asking
Oh
that.
my gosh, that's so beautiful. And I'm curious, even as you're saying that, Kilkenny, like, have you been to Ireland? Have you gone and being that you are a priestess, like, have you gone and been a part of those Celtic energies there in Ireland?
I have.
Yeah.
I've been to Ireland. I've been all over Ireland. I've been to Avalon, modern day Glastonbury, where there's a lot of Celtic ritual, and I was actually ordained a priestess there. And so yeah, I've been around those lands, and for me, they really hold a lot of amazing energy. And I think a lot of people with this work really calling on their ancestors, even if you think you hate your extended family, which is real for a lot of
Right.
people, at times. And I honor that. You can just think about a couple generations back where they would be. And there's a lot of support because, when you do research of different paths and lineages, and, all you have to do is go a few generations back, and think it's pre-electricity. We get into agriculture, and the mindset around mediumship, the mindset around magic, the mindset around the seen and unseen was so different, really, in my research, every part of the world and every tradition. So it's
Oh my
not far.
gosh.
You just go back a little bit and call on your ancestors and eat their
Yeah.
food and prepare a song that they would have sung. You do one small act, cooking potatoes a certain way that you find on the internet, and that will start to attract this huge amount. You have like a football team of ancestors.
Right? Oh, I love that. You have a whole football team. I think the other piece of it too is also to know, and I just want to add that when we talk, because the ancestors are such a big part of this, is to know that even though you might be someone right now who feels like you're the only one in your family who is a medium, that nobody around you understands, guess what your ancestors do? Because this is in the bloodline. This is a part that you are not the only one. And I know even for myself personally, even though it felt like I was coming out and everybody and around me was shocked and they were afraid and there was all of these things. What happened was this permission card, because over the years it's actually been where relatives in my bloodline have come forward and yes, they have it going on too and they have it going on too, but we've all been so conditioned to suppress and to deny it. So if you're someone who feels like you're all alone, I love what you say, Kilkenny. Call upon the ancestors, create a tradition for yourself, celebrate a tradition, invite them to come in, call upon them to help and give you the support that you need in order to do this work and to be who you are in the world. There's such value in those in the connection. And even if you're not sure, here's again, it's like you're not seeing them. Remember what Kilkenny said, it's about just be in the knowing of it, be in the experience of it, and just trust and know that they're there helping and supporting you 100%. Oh my gosh, so great. Gail says that Kilkenny is her favorite beer. and,
Well,
and
this is amazing to me because serendipities abound. Yesterday, I was at a doctor's office for an annual appointment, and the woman said to me, "Oh my God, I love that beer. It's my favorite beer." So this is in 24 hours. So I guess I don't know. I haven't never had that beer in America, but that's very sweet. Thank
you might be importing it now, right?
you. I didn't know.
Oh my gosh. So Gail says that she grew up with all kinds of superstitions in her family that were seen as messages from from spirit. So it's amazing, how that plays out for people. And it's this and I was always amazed, and I'm still amazed to hear stories where it's just so, accepted. It's just that's that spirit talking to us. Those are our loved ones. That's the ancestors trying to get our attention. And I think that's so beautiful because it is that is the ultimate truth of it for sure.
And
So
I honor your intention of just
yeah,
really sharing it because I do really believe in 100 years, just like astrology's become so big. And like I have teenagers and their friends talk in astrologies. Like it is
right.
so, my college students, the people from all different backgrounds, people from tradition, Orthodox religions, and they
Yes.
talk to me about what sign the moon is in their papers and stuff. Like It is really infiltrating. And I think mediumship is just behind that.
I
Yoga.
I totally agree. I know it's
Yeah.
like, as you say, it's like, it's on the verge here. Yeah, like we're just tilting, so to speak, for it to becoming more a part of just the awareness that this is very real and very connected. So I'm gonna go Kilkenny. Val has another question for you. She said, you've had formal astrology training, or is this something that you've also learned not to do naturally as well?
Val, I love your questions. Thank you. So I grew up going to ashrams and meditation centers and all these places when I was young in the Catskills. They call it the Bajan Belt colloquially, which is, so they're just like Buddhist temples and this and this and that. Such a blessing. And so
Yeah.
all these different places I went to that were very different. There was even an amazing Hasidic Jewish community there that I learned things about Jewish mysticism and such. So all the things that I noticed where these traditions were so different, but they were all following the moon. And I was like, that is the one common thread I could see.
Yeah.
And they all had a version of astrology, even though it was Vedic in the Indian tradition. And, there was a version of and a reverence for honoring the luminaries and noticing that there were patterns in nature that reflected back to us our psyche. So I was around people doing all different spiritual practices, but I noticed that there was this one common denominational thing. So I started paying attention to all the things they were saying. And so over time, I became like a very, I don't know what that, like a kind of savant astrologer. Like I was really big because I had kind of been around it forever, but I wasn't like classically trained. And then during the pandemic, actually, we were all in lockdown, and I read or heard, I think I read an article, what you should be doing is the thing that everybody comes to you and you do for free that is so much fun that you
Yes.
love. And I thought, what is that? And I thought, oh, that's astrology. Like I was reading people's charts forever. I was doing all this forever, but I wasn't formally trained. And so then during that time, I did a training, I got a certification, and then that blew it exploded in the way of I had so much, kind of bits and pieces together knowledge, and then it just went shh, and it synthesized, and now all the time in my psychic readings, spirit will show me parts of people's
Yes.
charts because that's
Me
such an
too.
intuition for me. But I
Yes.
also love working with people and reading their charts and telling them things about their mediumship abilities and their psychic abilities and their genius zones and things like that. Conversely. So
Yeah.
I love both.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you are so amazing, Kilkenny. Your wisdom, your just, oh my gosh, everything that you've had to share here this evening with everyone tuning in. What a gift you are to this world. And thank you so much for taking time out of your busy life to be a part of the conversation and to show up and support everyone who's tuning in, all these mediums, and being a part of this community and helping to, take it from being the fringe to on the verge of moving forward and becoming just as common as baking cookies. So I really, really appreciate that so very much. And of course, to everyone who is tuning in here tonight, who is a part of the conversation, of course, I absolutely am so grateful for you to have joined and taken time out. Tomorrow night, we have the opportunity to interact and have a conversation with one of my very dear friends and a very inspiration to me as well. Sunny Dawn Johnson will be here tomorrow night. So, of course, would love to have each and every one of you here as a part of tomorrow night's conversation as well. Kilkenny, God bless. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I love that you put it
Awesome.
in the Modern Mystic podcast. You guys, if you do not have it, you need to tune into it. It is so good. It is so good. It is so good. And of course, just no different. I mean, you've witnessed it firsthand, the wisdom and it's just profound. So Kilkenny, I think just to know that your contribution, even on days where you feel like perhaps you're not reaching the people that you would like to reach, I want you to know that you truly are making a difference in so many people's lives, including mine. And I'm so incredibly grateful for you.
Oh, Bonnie, thank you
Yeah.
so much. Thank you for your inspiration. You're like the Joan of Arc of mediumship, just on the front lines, like bringing it to the masses. And I just really, your conversation, and what you offer is so rich, so inspiring, so meaningful. and really pushing the needle. I love your podcast episodes on the Modern Mystic
Yeah,
podcast.
me too.
And I just could talk to you forever. I also want to mention, please, that I created a free gift for everyone.
Oh, yes, exactly. And so that is available. Thank you so much. And I know a few people have offered gifts. And so you'll see that posted on the event page at Bonnie Wirth Global. It'll be available posted with the recording of tonight's session. So make sure that you are taking advantage of her generosity as well.
Amazing.
All right. All right. God bless everyone. See you here
Thanks,
tomorrow night,
everyone.
Kilkenny. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So
So
much.
honored. All right. Bye-bye for now.